Good evening and welcome along to Business Today. Hope you're doing well. I'm Joram Ssonko with Winnie Buyinza Nakauchi in for the sign language interpretation. And of course, we are here to make sure that we give you all of the business news happening in your daily report. But first, let's have a look at our top stories. In the headlines tonight, the President returns the income tax bill. President Museveni has returned to Parliament the Income Tax Amendment Bill 2020. Elsewhere, we look at the power outages in the country. Parliament orders Energy Ministry to table the South Sudan-Uganda agreement. Elsewhere, we look at the ban of timber exports. Stakeholders to lose billions of sums of money in the export market. And now we kick it off with electricity trade. As Uganda grows into a major regional electricity powerhouse, Parliament has ordered the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Honorable Ruth Nankabira, to avail the power sales agreement with South Sudan. This follows a matter of national importance raised by Honorable Mayanja Allen over power outages in the constituency, yet government strides towards transnational trade. Samla Hanifa has details.
Uganda's total electricity capacity is 550 megawatts and the country's peak demand is about 489 megawatts. Uganda has been exporting its electricity to some of its neighbors including Kenya, Rwanda, and now South Sudan is on board. According to Honorable Alan Mayanja, most of the villages in his constituency are struggling with power outages, yet government has opted to sell it out.
But most of Ugandans didn't celebrate this day because of power load shedding and limited electricity supply. Parts of Nakaseke, parts of Wachiso, and even Butambala, even Bukedia.
The legislator says the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development has recently signed an agreement between Uganda and South Sudan for Uganda to start selling its surplus electricity to South Sudan, yet many Ugandans live in darkness.
So for energy, went to Sudan, South Sudan, and signed an agreement to sell power to South Sudan. Yet, in Uganda, Ugandans are suffering with darkness. The electricity is not enough. So the minister should table that agreement and elaborate the details in an agreement, and he should explain whether Ugandans do they have enough electricity.
Members of Parliament have demanded government to explain why the country has surplus electricity but has failed to distribute it to many parts of this country that don't have. This instead makes Ugandans pay for a product they do not consume.
In this country is not that we don't have enough power. The challenge in this country is that we are unable to distribute what is actually being produced in this country. Right Honorable Speaker, we have so many private entities producing energy that we are not using. And as a country, we are spending over 400 billion on power that we are not using. Right Honorable Speaker, it is important that the Minister of Energy comes up with a budget so that we are able to transfer this power from where it is generated to points of consumption other than paying for what we are not actually consuming.
Honorable Speaker, on the 14th of Feb, we processed a loan here.
Of which year?
Of this year, for distribution of power in almost 56 new districts. I personally supported the loan because my constituency is 40 miles away from Kampala, but in the town council, Ruwero Town Council, we do not have power. Actually, when I learned that our minister represented us to sign an agreement to sell power to South Sudan, actually I feel offended.
It's at this point that the Speaker directed Ministry of Energy to table the said agreement before Parliament to get an informed view on this matter.
Table the agreement that she signed.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Power outages are common in Uganda and have a severe impact on small businesses. These power interrupts can result in financial losses, productivity delays, and consumer inconvenience. In this blog post, we will look at the effects of power outages on Ugandan small companies and how a backup system might help. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Now, elsewhere, government has stamped a ban on timber exports. This is in a bid to safeguard Uganda's forest cover, promote sustainable forest practice, and foster value addition in the logging market. Government has made a bold decision to prohibit export of timber. The move aims to address the pressing environmental concerns associated with deforestation, while simultaneously encouraging growth of the local timber industry. Samuel Kirimunda compiled the report. Currently, information indicates that Uganda's forest cover stands at less than 2 million hectares. The excessive logging for timber exports hasn't only endangered the fragile ecosystem, but also threatened wildlife habitats and a key contributor to climate change. Government has in response instituted a ban on timber exports that will as well encourage responsible forestry practices, and focus is now turned to local consumption and value addition as extra opportunities are anticipated.
With effect from 29th, we are stopping the degradation of forests as per the presidential directive. That is, we are stopping the issuance of licenses, and the impact assessment licenses or permits to all our investors who have been harvesting the forest products across the country. And we are requesting all our government enforcement officers to enforce this. The factories that are exporting timber to other countries.
Prompt check on these various small companies who have gotten our license, telling us they are going to add value to our forest products, but at the end they don't add the value and they're exporting. And therefore we shall ensure, in cooperation with other government sister agencies, ensure that the directive is effected from the 29th with immediate effect. And therefore the notice goes out to all those who are affected, that you don't have to wait for us to arrive before you stop it.
A recent report released by the Worldwide Fund for Nature has shed light on the severe consequences of illegal timber trade in Uganda. According to the study, the country experiences an annual economic loss exceeding 23 billion shillings. This alarming figure underscores the urgent need for robust measures to address deforestation and curb illegalities in the timber industry.
One of the objectives to increase income and employment through sustainable use and value addition to the water, forests and other natural resources. So the investment which Uganda Investment Authority lances is in line with this objective. And the intervention was to promote forest cluster-based wood processing industries.
The Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakoba, has confirmed that government has begun investigations into land titles that were issued within government's forest reserves. This move is in response to a directive from the President highlighting government's determination to protect and restore the country's valuable forested areas.
Of course, Bugoma, the report is ready, and by next week I'll be submitting the report to the different entities, and we'll take up from there when we submit the report to you.
And I believe you go further than that, right, to also restore the degraded lands. So while we are now stopping this to look at those lands that have been degraded, it's an opportunity again to invest in Uganda for restoration of degraded lands and make us one of the investment destinations.
According to statistics, Forest cover is currently estimated at 12.4%, down from the 24% in 1990 due to deforestation and forest degradation. The industrial wood is expected to reach 1.7 million cubic meters by 2030, rising from 1.3 million cubic meters in 2008. Illegal logging remains a big challenge now, and there is growing need for remedy. Samuel Kirimunda compiled this report for Business Today. Now let's head to the southwestern part of this country, as businesses at the Katuna border are experiencing a remarkable upswing following ease of travel restrictions informed by COVID-19. Now, after years of uncertainty, reopening of this vital trade route has breathed new life into the region's economy as businesses re-emerge from limbo. We have more.
The Katuna border business community was in a limbo for almost 4 years. On January 31st, 2022, Rwanda's borders were reopened after nearly 3 years of halted trade and severed ties. This achievement represented the start of process of restoring economic connections and trust between the two countries. There was a glimmer of optimism for local company owners of the once non-functioning enterprises at Katuna border started to slowly but surely recover.
The Rwandese have started coming to the side of Uganda in this Katuna Burambira market. So far so good, because we have a lot of Rwandese across the border. Surely we are happy for that, because ever since they were stopped from coming to Uganda, we had no business around here.
When they removed the 5,000 payments for COVID testing, we were excited because money was scarce at the time.
Rwandan nationals faced certain barriers to cross into Uganda, where each individual was required to pay 5,000 Ugandan shillings for a mandatory COVID-19 PCR test. This posed a significant challenge, especially for ordinary citizens and small-scale businessmen.
Money has been so scarce, yet we still had to pay 5,000 shillings to cross border, which disrupted our business operations.
Despite challenges faced, the economy at Katuna border is starting to recover. This astonishing recovery has been made possible in large by perseverance of entrepreneurs. As travel restrictions have been loosened and bilateral trade has gradually resumed, business people from Uganda and Rwanda have taken advantage of the chance to deepen their business relations and spur regional economic growth.
I've seen some improvement because we have started earning slowly by slowly. There is nothing much, but there is some improvement. My comment is that it is at least. I expect something good. I expect more fruits, because if things go on like this, if there is nothing that hinders or that stops the border again, I think we are going to do better than this. When the business goes on very well, the taxes, the income of the Ugandans is going to improve as well.
Trading was so hard because of border closure. With it being lifted, things have been moving smoothly and businesses are faring.
It is evident that reopening of Katuna border has sparked renewed hope and prosperity for businesses on both sides. Through the gradual resolution of the underlying issues and the concerted efforts of both governments, the region has witnessed a positive trajectory towards economic recovery. Nobatindi Amhachi, Bronya Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Well, now on the other news, the income tax bill has rebounded. As what is coming in from the August House shows that one of the tax bill amendments that were awaiting asset by President have instead been rebounded to Parliament. President Museveni has cited issues such as tax loss deferral and the taxation of media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, Netflix as key issues for reconsideration. This hasn't, however, been approved by legislators who observed it as a double standards kind of bill. Samla Hanifa reports.
While addressing Parliament Speaker Anita Among informed legislators that President Museveni has been advised by people whom he did not disclose that Clause 12, which talks about tax losses, and 16, which talks about a tax on social media platforms, should be amended.
Clause 16. Clause 16 of the bill, which proposes the introduction of the tax on income derived by non-resident persons from provision of digital services in Uganda, was rejected by Parliament. The measure was meant to cater for taxation of digital economy such as Twitter, Amazon, Netflix, etc. The clause related to non-residents and non-residents in Uganda, since it does not relate to residents in Uganda, as was mistakenly stated in the minority report, it should be reinstated.
On the other hand, lawmakers have voiced their displeasure with the executive over returning bills to Parliament, while the bill's sponsors continue to work on the legislation even after it has reached the committee stage.
Whenever we are passing a bill, Right Honourable Speaker, you ask the Attorney General, you ask the Minister concerned, are you comfortable? Are we at par? You always ask if it is a private member, you refer to the private member. If it is government, you refer to the ministry concerned. And then they concede and say, let's go ahead, we concede. Where does it arise, Right Honourable Speaker, that this minister or the Attorney General or any person, because the names are not mentioned, would go aside and again advise the President otherwise? When we pass the bill here during the day, I don't know whether they go now at night, because we passed the bill here during the day, when everybody is here and in good faith.
According to legislators, the executive is not honest because both Attorney General and the Minister of Finance are always present during the passing of the bills, but later on go behind Parliament's back and advise the President otherwise.
Right Honourable Speaker, I am sensing a lot of dishonesty on the side of the executive when it comes to issues related to bills. Sometimes, Right Honourable Speaker, information now is coming up that they withhold information. You recall when we were discussing the anti-homosexuality law here, the Attorney General went and wrote something different, and when they had an opportunity to appear in the committee, they didn't say what they wanted to say. So this kind of dishonesty being exhibited by our colleagues, where the President says, I am advised. I think, Right Honourable Speaker, as my colleagues have said, it is important to understand who is advising the President.
These have appealed to the executive to stop diluting the power of Parliament in carrying out its mandate of legislation because it is a wastage of taxpayers' money.
It passes the law and the President fails to assent to. He dilutes the powers and the performance of Parliament by Article 91. Because any law passed by Parliament is expected to be assented to by the President. But in most cases, the President even goes beyond the time limit of the 30 days, returns a bill after 30 days have expired, and then Parliament illegally goes ahead to reconsider such bills. I think it is in contravene with the law, and it weakens the performance of Parliament. And I wouldn't expect very many bills to be returned. More so those ones are brought by government.
Speaker Anita Among directed that the bill goes back to the Committee of Finance to look at the amendments as requested by the President so that it's passed very soon. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
And now we look at the Uganda Revenue Authority and the traders meeting, as recently several businesses were closed down due to unmet tax obligations, impressing traders to consider striking. In resolution, Uganda Revenue Authority's Commissioner General, that is John Rujochi Musinguzi, engaged business leaders and traders in an attempt to better understand involved challenges and facilitate fair trade. Now, on the other hand, Kasita, Kafo, UTER remain concerned about the tax landscape that seems detached from their existence. Bronia Katusime has reports.
Uganda still has a thriving informal sector, consuming up to 80% of the economy, implying that tax concentration lies within the 20% formal sector. The informal economy has persistently faced challenges in regard to tax awareness and compliance to tax administration. Overall tax gap has in the long run affected government's revenue collection effort as city-based traders, UTEA and other traders associations desist from what they call unfairness.
We had a problem of closing our shops in town because of income tax, and many people didn't know which kind of income tax they should pay because they were not sensitized enough. We also talked about the issue of e-freeze system, and we agreed with Commissioner General that our people on the ground, our traders, they are also not, they are informal. First of all, second of all, they are not sensitized enough, and they don't know, they don't have enough information about e-freeze.
Ensonga y'okugenda okusuubula ebweru w'eggwanga nga mmanyi nti bwe ŋŋenda n'ensuubula ekkooti eno nusu 10.
There has also been an issue of import duty when it comes to trading abroad. Thankfully, Commissioner promises to tackle it effectively.
Uganda Revenue Authority has recognized the need of engagement with business leaders and traders to foster trade facilitation and address collateral challenges. Away from cross-country engagements, the URA traders sit-down has been considered crucial as many of these businesses operate informally and lack extensive knowledge about taxation.
Some of the key areas of collaboration which we've agreed on is to educate our taxpayers jointly, because we realize that most of the times what causes us conflict is limited information. So going forward, we shall educate together. We will share information in a number of areas. There are areas where the businessmen know better than we do. There are areas also where we know better than they do. So we are going to share information closely going forward, and we'll make sure that we are all on the same page.
The tax burden has been well known among the various trade sections. Income tax and the import duty have predominantly been at the force of concern as supply chain disruptions.
URA. We are so pleased that URA has honored or valued the leadership of the business community, and it is committed to make sure that the challenges raised in this meeting, they can find possible solutions in order to facilitate trade. So with such good relationship with the business community, we think that the business is going to be fueled or energized to make sure that our members are contented with the leadership of URA. And the priority
and all the shops that were closed in arcades because of the income tax, the Commissioner General has ordered them to open, but opening them on condition that there is the traders are going to comply with the way they are supposed to pay. We have been surprised that for those that were paying 1 million, actually maybe they are not supposed to pay 1 million if they followed up the calculations of the income tax. We have got to realize.
From the Revenue Authority's mobilization strategy, literacy and engagement with stakeholders are a priority to enforce personalized support and guidance to traders who are relentlessly on the move to voice their tax-induced grievances. Brenya Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
And we now talk matters agro-industrial development. Government, through the Office of the Prime Minister, has rolled out a nationwide campaign to enforce agro-industrialization. The initiative intends to address sector shortages such as productivity, value addition, and the much-needed import substitution, among other key aspects. Ivan Tibenkana reports.
With agriculture supporting over 70% of the country's population, government has embarked on a national agro-industrial revamp initiative starting from central Uganda, focused on maximum production, quality output, and ultimately value addition to realize the much-needed import substitution strategy. According to the Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, the industrial campaign, driven from the President's directive, intends to address market challenges faced by both small and large-scale farmers based on 6 key areas.
We need to pursue and develop our agriculture sector. And these include production, multiplication, distribution, certification of seeds and stocking materials. That is 1. 2, disease control. Pests and disease control. Agricultural mechanization and irrigation. Farmer education and mobilization. Partnerships with big land owners.
Mechanized agriculture is one of the key components in the policy proposals to address agro-deficits. The Agriculture Ministry, part of the Implementation Pact, informs about its move to equip all the 18 mechanization zones with just 5 currently outstanding. A stock of heavy machinery is to be availed and the low-bed facility to link out-of-reach areas.
That these centers will be only for heavy equipment. And His Excellency the President went to the greater lengths of telling us that we should have low bed for those heavy equipment. We are talking about combined harvester, where it's applicable. We are talking about machine for land clearing. We are talking about excavators. But for the tractors, we are going to ensure that every sub-county has a tractor. Yes. But for the heavy equipment, we have been directed to have a low bed to transport the heavy equipment to a further sub-county of the sub-region and then return it.
In quest for value addition, a long-time gospel in Uganda's import substitution drive, Harriet Ntabazi, the Minister for Trade, confirms that UDC and UDB will assist through a finance facility to farmers. Similarly, investor mobilization is underway to attain full domestic raw material usage.
We want to assure you all the equipment under UDC, under UDB, money has been released in the budget. We are going to holistically handle this as a holistic project. And Kenya is adding value and again importing back the animal feeds, chicken feeds, and again we buy. So we are saying no, this must end. We must use our own raw material to add value on, and then we be the ones to export. So we are in plans and high gears, together with the Minister of Agriculture, because of the other challenge that we got with the Kenyan border, and now the South Sudan border. We have laid strategies, serious ones, to make sure that the competitors who are using our own products to fight us, stop it.
With the Agriculture Ministry tasked to create an administrative authority as oversight on the agro-inputs market, quality assurance seems a likely reality as export ban on products such as milk and maize, for instance, inhibits regional trade.
We had the Minister of Agriculture saying the government authorizes them to form an authority which is going to put emphasis on emphasizing on the quality assurance of the products. Why? Farmers have been cheated. But it's the right time, I think the government has come up, because I've been seeing different authorities, like we have Uganda Coffee Development Authority. I think it's the right time this has come out, because even though you are in coffee, let's say, you have to know, they have to give you the right fertilizer so that you use it and you gain from what you do. So it's a right way, the government, and it's the best decision the government has done.
Despite the agro-revamp campaign running on an unspecified budget, government's commitment on sector reform remains intact as key agro-production sectors are upheld to enforce import substitution. Ivan Tibenkana, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Well, Business Today does return immediately after the break, so stick around with us.